This is interesting, right? So Apple and IBM announced this partnership, having been longtime rivals in the tech world. Even put out this picture of Ginni Rometty and Tim Cook strolling down a campus, looking very much buddy-buddy. So how big of a surprise is this partnership, Cory?
Yeah, Tim's not really a stroller. He's more of a fast walker. But look, this is a big deal. Because Apple is the biggest market cap company in the world, you know, very few things, because they sell so many iPhones and iPads, it's really hard to do deals, to introduce products that will move the needle. You know, the introduction of an iPad today would, in the revenues the iPad garnered in the first year, would be tiny compared to the Apple of today. But this is the kind of deal that can really move the needle for Apple, because it puts Apple products in the hands of people that just couldn't get them. That is, corporate employees whose purchasing managers were forcing BlackBerries and Surface tablets and Windows phones down their throats. They wanted iPads and they wanted iPhones. And IBM services people are now going to be able to march into their offices and sort of advise companies on how to roll out these products in places that they were uncomfortable doing it in the past.
And look, IBM sales force is very well known, very well respected. Anybody who wants to go into sales would point to some of the tactics they would have learned from IBM. So how much are they going to be able to really move the needle for Apple?
Yeah, I think this could actually make a big difference for Apple. I also think it's a big deal for IBM. You know, IBM is make no mistake, a struggling business. They've seen sales declines, quarterly sales declines, quarter after quarter after quarter. I mean, this went from a business that was growing back in 2011 to a business that is shrinking consistently on the revenue side, despite billions of dollars in acquisitions. So while they're acquiring companies, sales are shrinking. They boosted earnings per share by doing things like buybacks and other maneuvers, but borrowing money to make those buybacks. So they need some help. They need better products to sell. They achieved that with this deal yesterday. So IBM needs this deal probably even more than Apple. It's interesting that they couched it in terms of, if you read the press release, they talked a lot about the apps they're going to develop and about the IBM technology that's going to be available on the Apple devices. But I think fundamentally the real benefit here is going to be the ability of IBM's sales force to sell Apple's beloved products.
And Cory, you know, amid all this breaking news this morning on two media giants, 21st Century Fox and Time Warner possibly coming together.
I love Mario Gabelli's line that which I just retweeted. Was it's not a dozen roses, it's a half a dozen roses.
Right.
It's really clever.
It's like, you got to come back with more. Honey, you got to come back with more.
I'll get to work on that. I also loved his Steve Ross reference. Like, people don't remember that this business has been sort of perpetually in play for the last 25 years or so. It's an amazing story.
So amid this context, you have Yahoo, which has been trying very hard on the media front with Marissa Mayer, focusing on premium content and trying to build up those brands, but disappointing largely investors yesterday in the call with not much more to show for this transformation.
You know, there's a corollary here between Yahoo and Time Warner, right? In Yahoo, you've got a business that's really been sort of the structure of the business has been cleaned up with one giant hanging thing, and that's Alibaba. And Marissa Mayer has done really a terrific job of clarifying what the Alibaba asset is. The Alibaba IPO certainly has helped that in a great deal, but also continuing to reap the benefit of the Alibaba ownership. You know, Yahoo's core business, having just flattered Marissa Mayer, Yahoo's core business is actually doing quite poorly. They've taken some big restructuring charges. Just like IBM, they spent a lot of money in acquisitions with very little to show for it, either on a revenue line or on a very dramatically shrinking operating profit line. You know, people look at the bottom line for Yahoo, but I don't think that's the important thing, because that represents what Alibaba is doing. The operating profit line is much more revelatory when you look at Yahoo, and what you see is a business that's really struggling. But the Time Warner comparison is interesting because, you know, in the same way that Yahoo's sort of cleaned up what they are, Jeff Bewkes has done an amazing job, you know, getting rid of the AOL asset, getting rid of the Time Inc. asset, so you can really look at what the business is, the networks business at Time Warner and the cable business at Time Warner is separate from that. And so as a result, it's really back to the old Time Warner of Steve Ross's day, and that surely is what's exciting Rupert Murdoch.